A nightmare is playing out 1,000 feet underground as rescue crews rush to get to a dozen people trapped in a mine. An elevator malfunction has already left one person dead. The impact of the hurricanes is felt here across the country. Some Colorado hospitals prepare to conserve IV fluids after Hurricane Helene cuts off supply. Not everyone is excited about the prospect of a new national monument in Colorado.
So you're looking at a good 40 miles without any cell reception.
A whole lot of tourists means a whole lot of work for first responders. And when the well runs dry, a good neighbor will fill your cup, and your pig's cup, and your horse's cup. That's tonight on Next. 12 people are stuck 1,000 feet underground right now after an elevator malfunction at a tourist attraction. One person has died, at least 4 others were injured. The mine tour takes people deep underground into old mining tunnels. Now rescue crews trying to get them out. It's all happening at the Molly Kathleen Gold Mine in Cripple Creek. It advertises itself as the only vertical shaft gold mine tour in the United States. Now a dozen people are trapped 100 stories underground in those mining tunnels. Janelle, the biggest question, of course, that everyone's asking is what's the plan to get them out?
Mark, it's both tragic and troubling. The plan is to get the elevator working again to get these people out. The Teller County Sheriff's Office wouldn't tell us exactly what the malfunction was. They say it had an issue at about 500 feet down the mine shaft. Deputies say first responders were able to get the person who died out, as well as 11 survivors, including 4 who had minor injuries. The Sheriff's Office says the 12 people who are still stuck are with a mining expert. The Sheriff's Office hasn't released a ton of information. They say that's to try and keep people from panicking.
They honestly don't know that we've had an issue other than there's a problem with the elevator. We're just trying to keep down the worry of what's going on so that nobody gets excited.
The Sheriff's Office says these elevators are routinely inspected and haven't had any known issues since 1986. Governor Jared Polis has issued state resources to hopefully get these people out by tonight. Back to you, Mark.
So let's add some context to this. The tallest building in Denver is just over 700 feet tall. They're stuck 1,000 feet into the earth right now. The night is falling, obviously. It's getting dark out there. Janelle, do they have blankets? How are they going to survive down there?
Yes, the Sheriff's Office did tell us that they do have water, chairs, and blankets down there. So it does sound like they could have some comfort if they do end up staying down there for a little bit longer than expected, but we're not entirely sure how long that could last them.
Janelle Finch reporting in Cripple Creek. Janelle, thank you. A prosecuting attorney is supposed to uphold and defend the law. A prosecuting attorney who used to work for the Denver DA's office was just sentenced for breaking the law. Our Marshall Zellender shows us how a mother's intuition led to a lawyer getting sent to jail.
A text thread with hundreds of messages is not unusual for a teen.
Just ripped some Patron shots, feeling nice.
This is a text thread with hundreds of messages between a teen and a 27-year-old prosecuting attorney.
He sends a picture of himself smoking weed to our son. I was completely baffled and went back and read every single text message.
Tina Parks is a mom who had a gut feeling when she checked her son's phone last year and found concerning text messages from then Denver Deputy District Attorney Dan Steinhauser.
Definitely not appropriate conversations to be having with a 14-year-old.
Tina and her husband Jay showed us the text messages last year after sending them to the Denver District Attorney's office, which dismissed Steinhauser from his position immediately.
He's in a power position of respect for kids and adults, and he abused that office.
Steinhauser was able to text their son because he was picked as a mentor to help their 14-year-old make better choices. The parents found suggestive videos sent from Steinhauser. Talk about moving the conversation to Snapchat, where Steinhauser wrote, "We hate Snap at my job because they go away and it's hard to subpoena Snap for crimes." And then there's a text exchange where Steinhauser appears to suggest how to avoid a positive drug test.
He's like, should you what? I can't encourage you to smoke, LOL. But I can tell you where to get crayon pills, ha ha ha, you do you, and delete our messages.
Steinhauser was charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
I think grooming is an appropriate word.
Jacob Kremen prosecuted the case for the Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office.
Grooming behavior is often not illegal behavior. It's very often inappropriate behavior, but it's often something that is used to build trust or establish a relationship with a child in order to gain greater access to that child for whatever those means may be.
Tina and Jay were concerned that the charge Steinhauser faced did not match what they saw building in the text messages. Last week, an Arapahoe County judge sentenced Steinhauser.
I think that it was much more than a slap on the wrist, and I think that justice was served.
The judge could have done a maximum of 1 year in jail with no probation, but what she did sentence was 60 days in jail and 5 years probation. 5 years of being monitored.
Within the confines of what this crime was, I couldn't have asked for a better outcome.
A complaint has also been filed with the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel, which would challenge his legal license, perhaps try to get him disbarred. It has been a year in the making of this story. They connected in 2023, and it's taken until now for this to make it through the court system.
And those parents saw those text messages and feared the worst, that it would get even worse, right?
Yeah, this was the concern that they had, that they caught it just in time for something they thought might get worse, almost like Minority Report, like we're preventing something from happening. And at first they were concerned that the charges didn't meet what they thought they stopped. And instead of, the alternative was like, what, let it happen and perhaps have a more serious charge than charged. But with the sentence as it is, they are satisfied that they stopped it and still got the type of punishment had it continued.
Sure. Marshall, thank you. Whenever there are storms as destructive as Hurricanes Helene and Milton, they bring with them consequences that really none of us can predict, like how hospitals here in Colorado are now having to conserve IV fluids after a distributor was devastated by flooding last week. Baxter International in North Carolina makes about 60% of the IV fluids used in the United States. Baxter shut down its largest manufacturing facility due to flooding. No word yet on when it'll be back online. In the meantime, Baxter says they're limiting new orders to customers, including customers here in Colorado. That includes Denver Health and UC Health facilities here. Neither hospital system is limiting procedures yet, but both say they're taking steps to stretch their supply. Common Spirit and Advent Health get their IV fluids from a different company. Spokesperson says their plant made it through the storm without any significant damage, and a bunch of their inventory was moved out of the storm's path earlier this week. Those back-to-back hurricanes have left so many people needing help, and volunteers from Colorado are getting ready to return to the areas that were devastated. Milton ripped through some areas that are still cleaning up from Helene. Kim Males is one of about 1,100 volunteers going to Florida to give out food, provide emergency supplies, and help people clean up their homes. He just got back from helping after Helene. He says volunteers will be there for weeks, even months on end, as people put their lives back together.
I'm horrified by what I see. It is widespread and it's disastrous. In addition to hurricanes, there were several tornadoes last night. And I think people are seeing these images on media and realize the extent of the damage.
Those tornadoes killed at least 5 people. The hurricane also knocked out power to more than 3 million customers. I want to bring in Kathy Sabin now because, Kathy, it is just awful, the devastation that we're seeing there.
Yeah, 127 tornado warnings, 33 confirmed tornadoes ahead of landfall, which was last night. Was a Cat 3 when Milton came into Siesta Key with winds to 120 miles per hour, storm surge over 10 feet, and 16 to 18 inches of rain in the Tampa Bay area. It's just the images and the information coming in really astounding. In a year of extreme weather, well, we're dealing with a quiet weather pattern here in Colorado, and usually warm, hazy, and dry, but I'm tracking a weak cool front, which is coming in from the northwest. That'll bring temperatures down into the mid-70s tomorrow. Good riddance. Milton is way offshore from Florida. No tropical advisories for the state this hour. High pressure ridge will start to give way as this trough begins to move in. One front tomorrow and another one on Sunday. Temperatures today above the average of 69 at 85, just shy of the record. Smoke and haze is being scoured out with that wind shift, but some of you in Steamboat, Sterling, and Ray still dealing with it, as well as portions of Weld County. No air quality alerts posted. So your weather headlines include the areas of smoke, still part of our forecast, elevated fire danger, especially on Saturday, but cooler weather coming in, and widespread frost is likely Sunday night through Tuesday morning. So it is, well, we're seeing some signs that it's getting to be that time of year. A few high clouds coming in tomorrow, but a much cooler day after a very pleasant evening tonight. And we'll look at your extended forecast with a cool Friday, a warmer Saturday, great day for football on Sunday, and then a cooler weather trend early next week with highs in the mid-70s on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
You know, it makes it a little difficult because We don't have time on our side ever in EMS or fire.
The idea of a new national monument isn't sitting well with a small team of first responders in western Colorado. And when a Colorado animal rescue's most precious resource dried up, neighbors pitched in to keep everyone well hydrated, humans and animals alike. That's next. Some of Colorado's most beautiful places aren't at the top of the list of tourist attractions. People want to keep it that way. A new national monument could bring a whole lot more people to a part of our state that might not be able to handle it. For proof, the Dolores Canyons National Monument would be the largest in the state at roughly 400,000 acres across Mesa and Montrose counties. Now News reporter Evan Krugel and photojournalist Ann Herbst show us what could stand in the way of that actually happening.
Colorado is filled with places people can escape to. Areas of solitude, like the Dolores River Canyon, where cell phones can be used for pictures, but not phone calls.
So you're looking at a good 40 miles without any cell reception. There's actually a couple houses here where people that have been involved in accidents tend to stop and call.
Galen Doherty is the fire chief for the Gateway Unaweep District, where plans for a large national monument recently made his jaw drop.
Because I think the first thought that went through my head actually was, what?
Galen says his one firehouse, one fire engine, and one ambulance would have no chance to keep up with an increase in visitors in an area where 911 call boxes are often the only line of communication.
I honestly do not feel like we'd be able to handle the amount of tourism that a monument would bring in.
How many visitors a monument would bring remains unknown.
A big part of this conversation is really the chicken and the egg.
Anna Stout supports the monument and believes services would build up over time.
There's nothing that justifies having more infrastructure at this time. Once there's a need for it, though, that's when that infrastructure is developed.
Anna is a council member in nearby Grand Junction and says tourism dollars have helped her city expand things like roads and cell towers.
As things develop, that's when you start developing infrastructure to support the growth or the increase in visitors.
Galen believes they need to build an additional fire station, buy more trucks, and hire more staff.
Did you receive any sort of assurance that these costs to your department would be covered if this were to happen?
Not at all.
How does that make you feel?
Scared.
Anna says she's scared too, that concerns about the future could impact protections she says need to happen now.
As we move forward and as questions are answered, I think that'll really help ease some of the concerns.
Solitude is why so many come here, to seek out a place off the beaten path. The road to protecting this has different lanes, but the same destination.
We're all on the same side of wanting to make sure that this landscape is protected.
Now, the fire chief says Senator Michael Bennet did meet with them in person last month to hear about their concerns. Ultimately, the decision for a monument designation comes down to one person, the president. A White House spokesperson declined to comment on if or when a decision could be made, only saying there's, quote, nothing to share at this time. Mark?
Even as a Colorado native, I drove through that for the first time this summer, had no idea that it was even there, but it's absolutely beautiful. The secret's out now. So who would ultimately pay for these infrastructure changes?
Yeah, it is stunningly beautiful. That is the million-dollar question, right, Mark? The infrastructure down there simply would need to be developed if this were to happen, but the tax base isn't there. As you probably saw as you were driving through, we're talking towns of 300, 400, 500 people, simply not a big enough base to be able to provide that level of funding. Ultimately, this may come down to the federal government needing to step in if this becomes a reality.
And just a couple of first responders for that massive area. Evan Krugel, thank you.
1 dairy steer, we got 4 emus, 25 Angus cow. They go through a lot of water.
So what's an animal rescue supposed to do when they run out of water? Phone a friend or a lot of friends. Water is, of course, a precious commodity for everyone out west, but especially for our farmers on Colorado's eastern plains. A woman who runs a farm animal rescue is finding out that even when some resources run dry, Other resources emerged to help out.
We have his to do today. Come here, Frank. They need you every day, and that gives you a purpose to keep going. Roscoe's Rescue, we rescue a lot of farm animals and some exotic.
I really do appreciate what she's doing, and she's just a marvelous person. What she does for these animals is crazy, especially the big cows.
He was skin and bones when we got him. 1 dairy steer, we got 4 emus, 25 Angus cow.
Kisses.
11 potbelly pigs plus 2 extra potbelly pigs, 3 goats, 1 donkey, a lot of water. They go through a lot of water. Our water well, basically our pump died.
She came to my door and asked if she could fill up a bunch of jugs with water. And it's like, well, what's going on? I said, well, our well broke. It's pretty bad because that's your only source of water. You can't do anything without it.
Hi, Buttercup.
You got to really be thinking about the animals and what they need, basically, before you think about what you need.
I'm strong-willed and do everything on my own. I'm sorry. It sucks. But to ask for help takes a lot for us. And once you get it, you actually feel like you're loved, you got a purpose, that what you're doing is actually something that is good. He's a sweetheart. He's a teddy bear. He loves to cuddle.
You don't hesitate because you know that they would do the same thing for you.
And then seeing the community come around you and say, we got you. Take a break, breathe. We have this for you and help us. That's remarkable to me. Kisses. Kisses. Good boy. Good boy. You give me a wet one.
Kathy isn't the only neighbor who pitched in. A couple others donated bottles of water, crates for Chris to use, everything. Roscoe's Rescue is hosting a trick-or-treat event next Saturday evening. Free to attend, but they're taking donations if anyone else wants to help out. Speaking of animals, next on Next, it's Nest. That and your feedback when we come back. It is the return of everyone's favorite soap opera, As the Nest Turns. This might be our wildest one yet. Tonight, it's taking an action movie turn, explosions and all. If anybody knows of any bald eagle real estate and eagle pair nesting near Stearns Lake in Boulder County are on the market, look at that, a lightning strike out of nowhere. That's back in August. Some virtual bird watchers caught it all on camera. The female eagle was in the tree at the time. Luckily, she was okay. After a few stun moments, she flew back. Even came back later to that tree. Parks officials are going to shut down nearby trails starting next week to give the eagle some peace and quiet to try and find a new home. Our thoughts are with all those 12 people that are still trapped down in that mine in Cripple Creek right now, as well as the first responders trying to get them out. Again, a dozen people trapped 1,000 feet below the ground as first responders try and get them out. We'll have more for you on 9 News at 10 as well as 9news.com. We'll see you next time.